Hello, Facebook. Hello, Instagram. Like I said, I was going to come live today. I'm Jennifer Hurst, and I wanted to bring you guys some tips for early sobriety. I asked last week about anything that I can help with, anything that you'd like to see from me with what I post, with what I talk about, and I got some comments about giving you guys some tips for what helped me with early sobriety. So I'm coming up on 6 years of sobriety. April 24th is my sobriety date. My birthday is close after, but I care more about my sobriety date than anything else. And I know those early days are super tough. And I've just read a book, and that's actually one of my recommendations, The Unexpected Joys of Being Sober, and she had some really great resources for her suggestions for the first 30 days. So even the first 30 days, but even the first few days, because I know a lot of my followers are either in sobriety, they're sober moms, or people looking to get sober, or people just looking to cut back on drinking. And so these are my tips. These are what helped me. You can take it or leave it, but this is my advice to you. There are about 7 tips. I actually wrote them down, so they're like up there so I don't forget. But these are just what really helped me. So it took me a little overview of my sobriety. It took me a year and a half of really active addiction and trying to get sober to actually get sober. I've always kind of known I've had a problem, but it really escalated leading up to my wedding, the year before leading up to my wedding, with all the stress, and I was overworked, and I just turned to drinking to self-medicate. I also used it for social anxiety and whatnot. So it actually took, right after my wedding, a year and a half to get sober. So like I said, we got married in September 2011. I got sober in April of 2013. So, and some people it's earlier, it doesn't take that long. Some people just need to stop, and that's great. Some people go to AA and they're able to stop. I needed additional sources. So I went to treatment. I went to 3 different treatment centers. I went to outpatient. So I was someone who needed a lot of help to get sober, and it worked. And it took, I don't regret going to treatment the first couple times because it brought me to where I am. I don't regret my history or my alcohol history of what I did. Well, there is some like shame over that, but I've learned to process it and be grateful for it because it brought me to who I am today and the opportunity to share my story with all of you. So my first tip is my biggest one, something that it's really hard that first day, that first week of sobriety. If you're using in that first week of getting sober, you have to live in being uncomfortable. The first day of your sobriety is the hardest day because you're dealing with withdrawals, you're dealing with anxiety from the drinking, you're dealing with, oh my God, what did I do? Because usually the night before was probably not a good drink, depending on where you are in your addiction. But my advice, and it sounds so simple, is you have to live in it. The only way past the uncomfortableness is to actually feel, because for so long we have been medicating with alcohol that you actually have to process feelings now. So you're gonna feel anxious, you're gonna feel like, oh my God, you're gonna feel uncomfortable, you're gonna be like, oh my God, what do I do? I really wanna drink. But you have to sit in it and just realize that it is going to be okay. You're gonna be fine as long as you don't drink. That is your one goal, is to not drink. And you're going to feel uncomfortable, and that is good. That is totally normal. So feel it, because for so long we have not felt things. So you have to feel it, you have to process it, and you have to go through it. The only way past is through. So you feel it. Your sleep is probably going to be off. You probably are going to not be able to sleep for a few days, maybe even a week, because your body has been used to. I used to drink to sleep, to fall asleep, because I would have racing thoughts, and I would think and think and think, and I couldn't fall asleep. So I would drink and then I'd pass out. But we all know when we drink, we don't get that great sleep. We don't get that REM sleep. So that's why we wake up in the middle of the night. That's why we're so tired the day after drinking, is because we're not getting that great sleep. So your sleep is gonna be off. That's okay. You're gonna have to sacrifice some nights of not getting some sleep. Just realize that it will get better as long as you don't drink. You're gonna be worried. Like I said, I already went over that. So live in the uncomfortableness. That's my first thing. Second thing is to avoid slippery places. This is what we use in treatment. I hear it all the time. So this is what Rachel Hall says, don't be dumb. Don't go to bars where there's alcohol. Don't, especially in your first 30 days. Don't go to bars. That's just like, don't put yourself, I tell the women in my groups, like, don't have, ice cream in the house if you know you're going to binge on it. Don't have alcohol in the house, period, at least for 30 days. At least. Do not put yourself in these tempting situations. If you're someone that struggles at parties, do not go to parties. Don't go to events, or don't be around friends that drink. Like, just really protect your sobriety and really realize that that is your main goal. So don't be dumb and go to a bar if you're trying to get sober. You're just asking to drink, right? And I don't mean to like be harsh about that, but I'm very serious about it, because people are like, well, I don't want to miss out. And my thing was like, I don't want to miss out on this stuff. But it's like, you're going to miss out if you drink, because you're going to be blacked out anyway. So especially for those first 30 days, stay home. And that might sound lonely. That might, but there's other things that you can do. Your main goal is to stay sober. So avoid those things. And another thing you can do is go to AA. Like, that's another great way to like meet people in sobriety. So avoid slippery places. Like I said, parties, bars, events, friends, being alone. If being alone is one of your triggers, don't be alone. Call someone, get together with a friend, go to an AA meeting, go do something. If you have a spouse, go out and do something sober, go out to dinner, find other things that you can do that don't revolve around alcohol. And that is scary, because I was like, well, what fun am I going to have when I take drinking away? And I had no idea. I was like, I didn't know how to have fun without drinking. And believe me, you're going to have a lot more fun in sobriety rather than all those times you can't even remember. Number 3 is replace the drinking with something. This one's huge. And I teach that in my boot camps too. You have to replace the emotion with an action. So why did you drink? Was it stress? Was it loneliness? Was it anger? Was it celebration? Was it reward? What was it that triggers you to drink? And replace it with something. So whether that be, obviously my number one thing is replace it with working out. Not to the point of cross addiction, but to the point of incorporating some exercise, because there's proven facts. And this is why I do it what I do. And I encourage women who are struggling with addiction or women in sobriety. And that's what they teach at Hazelden and at every treatment center, is to move your body. Because for one, you're going to start to reform these brain cells. Exercise actually can build brain cells back up. The brain cells lost through drinking. It'll improve your mood. It will get, your organs, like your stuff running, and it's just going to make you feel so much better. Just 30 minutes. You don't have to overdo it. So exercise, workout, read, like choose a great book, listen to something, listen to podcasts, go to a meeting, go to an AA meeting. I took up, and you'll see a lot of people in addiction or in treatment centers, they take up crochet or knitting. That was like such a great mindfulness activity for me. I learned crochet via YouTube. So I learned that, and that just like kept my hands busy. And I think that's another main tip, is like to keep your hands busy. Crocheting. One thing that my son and I did last night is Legos. And I know that's like a kid activity, but it was super fun. My son and I are putting together a monster truck. And I think I was having more fun than him, because I was like, okay, like, you have all these instructions, and like, it took up time, but I found like so much joy in doing that. A lot of people in treatment do puzzles. That's a great mindfulness activity. Or you color. We've all heard the benefits of like coloring and how like therapeutic that is. So there's so many resources out there. At Target, get a coloring book, get some coloring pencils, whatever. So figure out what you like to do and replace the drinking with something. Because for me, if I just sit and watch TV, I'm bored. So I have to get up and actually do something. And right now, I like checking with my challengers, I coach, I respond to messages, and I'm constantly contacting and connecting with people, and that's what fills my time. Replacing it can also mean with a beverage. So you can't just like take alcohol away and expect to be like, okay, great, let's drink water, which some people are, but that's not me. So what I've resorted to at first was soda, which I know isn't the healthiest thing, but I believe in baby steps. So I replaced it with soda and water, and then now I drink sparkling water. I freaking love that stuff. I drink like 3 a day, love it. So I'm replacing that. If I want something bubbly and obviously sparkly, I drink sparkling water. Like I said, soda, especially if you're starting out, whatever, soda, as long as it's not alcohol, do what you need to do. Sparkling juice, so you see me drinking that Welch's sparkling juice. You can get it at Target. It's like $3 a bottle, so much cheaper than a bottle of alcohol. Love it. I still feel like I'm treating myself. It's not alcohol, but it's super sweet and tasty. Otherwise, you can search mocktails. There are so many resources and out there for mocktails. Just Google it, and you can make like these fun fruity drinks. Treat yourself. You're going to be going through sugar withdrawal. People always ask me, and that's what I do, and that's why I drink the superfood shake that I do, because it's this number one thing that has helped me with my sugar cravings. Because when you take the alcohol away, your body is naturally going to look for that sugar source from the alcohol, because when you take that away, your body is craving it. So naturally, you're going to crave sugar. So in treatment centers, you'll see a lot of the patients in there, and me included, have suckers, eat candy, all that stuff, because we're all going through withdrawals. So, I mean, go out and get, what I did in treatment was like, I loaded up on suckers, like Blow Pops and Tootsie Pops were my best friend. Jolly Ranchers if you need to. So anything to like feed that sugar source. I know that's not a healthy thing, but what I said, in those first early days, you're just trying to get through those withdrawals and make it to those first 30 days. So now, like I said, and the number one thing that I would highly recommend, and I'm not trying to sell something, this has been my experience, even in sobriety, even with 4 years of sobriety, I still had sugar cravings, is the superfood shake I drink. Because when your body is getting everything it needs, it doesn't crave things anymore. Obviously, I still treat myself. I still had cake last weekend with my son, loved it, but it has been the number one thing that has helped. So if you want to know how to get that, let me know and I'll get you set up. And especially in your first 30 days, you need to replenish those nutrients that were lost through drinking. So this will help do that. So you naturally don't crave things anymore. Number 4 is reach out. So reach out and ask for help. You got to reach out. So whether that be AA, I think AA is a great thing for meeting people, for surrounding yourself with other people who get you. And that is essential. How do we stay sober is by helping other alcoholics maintain sobriety, helping other alcoholics stay sober too. We all help each other. So AA is a great resource. You can just Google it, like AA meetings in your area, just to meet people who are just like you, who can connect and like share stories and not judge you for what you've done, who can relate and be like, you know what, me too. I've done that too. And you're like, oh, no way. I thought I was the only like crazy person that did this, or like that put vodka in my water bottle, or, like did the crazy stuff that I did. Chances are we've all done it too. So AA, there are great sober communities on Facebook and Instagram. So the Recovery is the New Black is super good. That's on Facebook. Otherwise, there's like the Sober Mom Tribe on Instagram. I obviously run a Recovery Fit Club, which I hope to build to be a recovery community for women. And just reach out. There's so many good resources out there and so many people that you can meet. So use the tools that are available, and they're all free. So use them. Like, people are more than willing to talk about it because it helps us help you guys. Number 5 is treatment. And I solely believe in treatment. I was so scared. It took me almost a year to enter treatment, enter inpatient treatment, and I highly recommend it. I entered a 30-day program. I relapsed when I got out. Different mindset, which I'll get into in a second. And then I did another 30-day program. I stayed for actually 60 days. And then I finally did a 30-day program at the retreat, which I ultimately got sober. So I highly recommend treatment. I can recommend some different treatment centers. Don't be afraid of it. It is super scary to even think about. But if you have been struggling to get sober, my number one recommendation would be to enter treatment, because for one, you're in a safe spot, you're surrounded by people who are just like you, and you're learning the tools to be sober and stay sober. So I have some great, I'll give you the ones that I recommend, or the one, there was only one that I really recommend because I just believe in it so much and it helped me and I loved it. So treatment, and there's also outpatient treatment. So there's inpatient treatment and outpatient treatment. Outpatient treatment is, I just had a more severe case, so I tried outpatient. I first tried AA, Then I tried outpatient, and I just knew that wasn't for me. I needed more intensive care, so then I did inpatient. Can't recommend those highly enough, so I highly recommend inpatient. Number 6, become a student. So if you have alcoholism, if you're an alcoholic, if you're heroin addict, if you're an addict, learn about the disease, become a student, read up about it. I was so interested in how my brain chemistry of the chemical makeup of my brain that is in addicts. And like, there's some great resources. There's tons of books out there, you guys. So the number 1 book I highly recommend is The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober. That has wonderful materials for you guys, wonderful resources. Recommend it. It is on Amazon. I don't think you can listen to it yet, but it just came out in December. It is the number 1 book I recommend for sobriety. Number 2, my next book that I'm going to have my Recovery Fit Club read is This Naked Mind, and she has some free resources online that you can do. There's also, I think that's on Audible, so I also recommend listening to books. Saved my life. Listen to books. If you fall asleep reading like I do, or if you just don't have time to read and it's late at night, listen to books. You can listen when you're driving, listen when you're getting ready, listen when you're working out. Fill your mind with resources, with recovery, there's amazing podcasts if you don't have money. This Naked Mind has a podcast. So listen and become a student of this disease and know and implement some of the resources that they gave you from someone who has lived through it previously. I cannot recommend that enough. Like I said, like now I listen to personal development every day. A lot of times it's not addiction. I incorporate that too, but a lot of times it's just ways to better my life, to live a better, more fulfilling life, and how to improve my quality of life. So, Girl Watch Your Face is amazing. If you need motivation, Girl Stop Apologizing. The 5-Second Rule is actually another great recovery book because it gives you an actual action step to take if those triggers come up. So, use the resources, become a student. Number 7, it comes down to 2 things. I always say this to people who reach out to me, are wondering about, what did it take for you to get sober? All the time I get asked this question. And I'm like, it came down to 2 things. And actually, I didn't say this, Matthew Perry said it, because I love watching his friend's journey because you can actually see his addiction throughout those 10 years take place in his weight. Like, you can tell when he's using, you can tell when he's sober. So he said it came down to 2 things for him. You have to really want it. Number 1, you have to really want it. So you have to really want this. Like, you have to want to be sober, And number 2, you have to be ready. Not anybody else, but you have to be ready for it. You have to have both of those things, because when I went to Hazelden the first and second time, I really wanted to be sober. I did. But I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. And I think if you don't get to that point, don't beat yourself up. Go out, and I always say this, go out and drink and come back when you're ready. Because sometimes it takes people a little bit longer down their journey, down the rock bottom journey, for them to actually get it. And for me, it took a lot for me to actually be like, I'm done. And I think when it gets to that point, you know it. Just like moms when they're like, oh yeah, after the 3rd kid, they're like, yeah, we're for sure done. And now, like with me, we have 2, and I'm like, are we done? I don't know. Like, I think we are, but I'm totally not there yet. Kind of like sobriety or like getting sober. You know when you're done. So figure out, like, are you done and are you ready? Because if you're not, then don't go to treatment, because it's just going to be a waste of time. Because honestly, it was like a switch like that. When I really wanted it, I was done. And everything became easier. So those are my suggestions. You have to really want it, and you have to be ready. Not your family, not anybody else, because nobody else can do the work for you. You have to do the work. You're the one that has to be sober. You're going to have to show up when no one else is there. You're all alone, and there's maybe a temptation waiting out there, or there's a car that you could go to the liquor store. So you have to have that drive within yourself to actually really want this and to say no. So now what's great is like my kids, they are my constant like reminder, like, if there's alcohol around or if people are drinking around me, I look at my children and I know what I could lose. And there's nothing in the world that I would do to lose them because I decided alcohol was more important than them. So, those are my tips. Let me just see. I'm just scrolling Facebook. Oh God, Mike joined. He works with me. Okay. Congratulations on your sobriety. Thank you so much. If you don't know us, I'm doing Instagram and Facebook. So anyway, so if you have any questions whatsoever, I'm an open book. Please reach out and ask me questions. If you're, anything, I'm here to help you, and I can hand you over some great resources because I know that. I know what it's like. I've been there. I've lived through it, and I know how hard it is, but I know how hard you guys are. And if you have that will, if you have that why, you can totally do this too. So have a wonderful Friday, everybody. I hope that helped you guys. And if you have any questions, please let me know, and have a great sober weekend. And I'm here if you would like any help or any suggestions or have any questions whatsoever. All right. Okay, Facebook.